Hello. On our next series of mini speech tidbits, I want to talk to you a little bit about using humor. I think that we all feel funny at times, right? You know, and that what we have to say is really going to crack people up. That's not always the case. So I want you to be comfortable using humor in your speech, but understand that as you're about to see, moderation is everything. So let me give you a quick share here. And we'll present this. So using humor in a speech, as I said, is a good thing, but as with much of life, moderation is actually everything. So what can humor do that's positive? It can open doors because it creates connections. You know, the audience and the speaker share an understanding, and that's good, but you want to be sure of that understanding. So what you might think is funny might not be what everybody else thinks is funny. So don't just sort of throw things out there. Be cognitive of taste and decorum, and don't alienate people with what you think is funny. Also, plan these moments of humor. You know, don't just think it's going to come to you out of the clouds and say, oh, here's a funny moment. Something that surprised me, but that I've found, is that comedians really spend a lot of time planning being funny. So it's not as spontaneous as you think. They've actually worked these lines through and figured out what's the best way of saying it. So do the same thing in your speech. If you want to try to incorporate humor, do that, but plan it. And the more you plan it, probably the better it will be. If I'm trying to be funny in a speech, I actually bounce ideas off of people just to see, whether or not they think it's funny, or I say it to myself over and over again and say, is that really funny? Are they going to, and it gets to be a stronger, more funny piece of content the more I work with it, and the same will happen for you. The other thing that can happen with humor is, it sort of works as a transition in a way, right? It can help you move through content. It can create bridges between ideas and move the audience in a fun way from one idea to another. You can do this by telling stories, like with a humorous outcome, to create stronger ties to the content. So if you're trying to illustrate a point about something and you think humor might be a good way of showing something, so in essence, like you could take a difficult situation and describe it through a humorous story and show how a lesson was learned, but maybe we don't have to be so weighed down by the difficulty of the situation. You also want to use humor to create analogies and a greater understanding or connection to the content. So that can happen in a lot of different ways, and that's something that you can explore. But my biggest piece of advice to you is to use humor, use it effectively, use it sparingly. This is not a stand-up comedian routine for you. This is an opportunity for you to make a connection with an audience. Humor is a great way to do that, but be smart about using it. Until next time, hope all is well, and let me know if you have any questions.